So, we had the big... You didn't need backstory. Nope. The last time we had to fight in the room, the garden room, where everything was nice and beautiful and calm and peaceful. And tried to tear us apart with spiked tentacles. So, we have this crown thingy, which is a key, but you have to stick it on something and it sucks life force to activate. So I gave my suggestion that I mentioned last tale telling of sticking it on a gremlin. And Hank was surprisingly not quite as enthused about that as I had expected him to be. But the party generally agreed that this was a good idea. And so we are going to grab the first gremlin we come across, and it will be our key handle.
Yeah, I was amazed at how quickly everyone was just like, oh yeah, let's shove it on a gremlin, because gremlins are bad, so it's fine to suck the life force out of them.
That was probably the least horrendous thing about this session, though. Of course, it doesn't help that I made that suggestion before we even entered the room where everyone fights each other for no reason. So I can't even make an excuse of that. But yes, the only exit from the room is into the room where everyone fights each other for no reason. So we're going to have to go through there. We figured we would just go in there and just head straight across the room to the other side where we hadn't explored. There will probably be a door of some kind there. Because just looking at the map we've worked out so far, that's the only place that we haven't really explored.
Yeah. So.
I think there's also that side room in the horrible trap corridor that we haven't explored.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you haven't been in there.
But we didn't want to go back into the horrible trap corridor. It's full of mouths and eyes and stuff. It's nasty. Nasty place.
Well, and really, your plan, you basically essentially executed your plan. Go into the room where everyone fights everyone for no reason and get to the other side as quickly as possible.
Yep.
That's what happened.
It took the whole session, but we got to the other side. So, we enter the room where everyone fights each other for no reason. And so the first round of attacks the room does on our will to try and make us fight each other for no reason goes off. Hank and Cricket failed. The serendipity event Gold Star to Melora, Topper Tower, Shepherd's Soul, Strides Through Time, Doomed to Lair succeeded, I think. She only failed like once or twice in the entire thing. I can safely say that Hank failed because he failed literally every time. And I think Cricket also failed literally every time. So just that's an assumption here you can put in. Aurora failed sometimes and succeeded other times. So right off the bat, we go into the room and Hank and Cricket punch each other in the shoulder or something. The first time you fail is just a basic attack. So we just do a basic melee bam thing. I don't even remember if they landed the blows or not. No, wait, didn't Cricket have a critical success on her attack that time? The very first thing?
Yes, but it was because, and you did it ended up being a mental attack. When
it's a critical success, then it's supposedly a bite attack.
Oh, yeah. But
instead, yes. That was what happened right off the bat. Right off the bat, the room does a critical hit on Cricket. And we've established the pattern is each time the room succeeds in its will attack, you do an attack on the nearest creature. And the first time it's a basic, next time it's an at will, next time it's an encounter, next time it's a daily. And if you succeed, it moves back one notch. So anyway, but if the room gets a critical success on its mental attack, you instead do your attack and it counts as a bite attack. Which actually isn't worse, mechanically speaking. It's just that sort of flavor-wise, well, it tastes like who you're biting, but it's more of a, like, you're just so flipped out in rage that you're not even fighting rationally, you're biting.
Yes, you have to bite and you have to swallow. That's what happens.
So yeah, I had previously finagled that with Cricket, instead of a bite attack, she does a headbutt attack. Because she's a satyr, it's a little more her style. So first thing in the door, Cricket headbutts Aurora in the chest with a critical hit, and she is granting combat advantage for the rest of the round because she is so winded and stunned by this body blow, and stunned by my instant betrayal. I mean, we knew it was going to happen, but this was like I stepped inside the door, I turn around, and I headbutt her in the chest. It was hilarious. So that was my standard action that round, and I need that gremlin. There's a gremlin right over there. It's like 2 squares away from me. So I use an action point to cast Cutting Words, which is a thing that does damage and then pulls an enemy. The gremlins are minions, so any damage at all is enough to knock them out. I do non-lethal. And I pull him into my hand, essentially. I use Cutting Words to knock out a gremlin and suck it in my hand, like that. So, okay, we now have our key fuel. Now let's just get out of here. We proceed across the room. I realize that Cricket has a particular problem. She's holding a gremlin in her hand, and she doesn't want this gremlin to get killed, and it's a minion. Every round, I'm at risk of attacking the nearest creature to me. So I need a punch buddy to stick with me as we cross the room. So I'll have someone to attack other than the gremlin, because otherwise I'm just going to kill this gremlin. So after every round, I'm making sure that Cricket is standing next to someone in the party, so that at the beginning of next round she can attack that person. It's especially hilarious that Cricket is the character that is doing this. But anyway, we start off across the room. There's this spiky guy. One of the various chaos creatures is this humanoids that are covered in spikes. And he's fighting with this gremlin. And so we're trying to sort of just bypass all of the enemies, because all of the enemies in this room are busy fighting each other for no reason. So we try and slip past these guys. What went wrong with that? Something went wrong with that.
I think it just took time because everyone was wasting one action around, and you had to squeeze between them and those two titans in the middle of the room.
Yeah.
There's these two titans fighting each other in the middle of the room that you don't want to get the attention of.
Yeah. So I remember we wound up with Hank being nearest to the spiky guy. And so Hank failed his will attack, and the problem is that the room scored a critical hit on Hank. So he had to bite whoever he was going to attack, which was basically a porcupine.
So the dog got into the porcupine.
Yep.
And he bit it and ended up with a snoot full of quills.
Yep.
I got this picture off the internet of this poor dog that had been porcupine.
It was an horrendous picture.
And everyone was just like, don't show that.
And so he showed it several times. Because DMs are cruel, otherwise you wouldn't be a DM. So that happened. Hank is now raging and has a mouthful of spines. Yes. And I think the next round, when Cricket failed her will save and had to attack the nearest person, it was Hank. I had her punch him in the quills.
At some point, it was actually the next turn right after that, that spiky guy attacked, and he was the guy who could shoot fire. So then he's the one who lit Hank on fire. So now he's a dog covered in porcupine quills and on fire.
Yeah.
So I doctored up the image with like these flames and just kept showing that to the party. It's like, this is Hank.
Yeah.
Poor dog.
So there was this chasm we had to jump across. It was a real easy jump, but it was just yet another thing to make things slower and more agonizing getting across this room.
I think it was about this time that Cricket ended up attacking Serendipity, because I'm sure that was just after jumping the chasm.
Did I hit her? Oh, I remember. Yes, I did. Serendipity was there. Serendipity, Van Gogh, Top of the Tower, Step Soul, Strider Time, Doom Slayer was there, and something else was there that I actually did want to hit. Maybe it was the porcupine guy.
Debate between the party, and so you ended up...
I used Shout of Triumph. Is this the one we're thinking of?
No, I'm thinking when you use Cutting Words and Serendipity.
Oh, yes! We have to tell that part. You're right. I almost forgot that part. So, yes, I had to attack Serendipity, Van Gold, Strider of the War, Top of Tower, Shepherd's Little Strider through Time, Doom Delayer. And I was on the level where I attack with my at-wills. The best one to use would be Cutting Words. It does the most damage.
And everyone was doing a pretty good job of role-playing, like getting really grumpy with each other. And, you know, when they were punching each other, you know, they were like, things like, Cricket was like, give me an order! Give me an order! No, you're a person!
So, I used Cutting Words on Serendipity, Van Gold, Strider of the War, Top of Tower, Shepherd's Little Strider through Time, Doom Delayer, Slayer of the Butcher. Oh, right. That was what I did. That was my Cutting Words. I don't know how familiar you are with the backstory of the party and of Serendipity in particular. Van Gold, Strider of the War, Top of Tower, Shepherd's Little Strider through Time, Doom Delayer. Names are super important for gnomes, which is why I say her full name every single time I say it, because that's what you're supposed to do. She earned the title Slayer of the Butcher of Bracken Ridge early in our campaign, and then she lost it because she owed a guy a ton of money, and he took one of her names as a down payment, and this is really, really sore for her. So I did that. I rolled. It was a critical hit, as might be imagined. Cutting Words isn't all that spectacular at will, but we're using the doubling damage rule to try and make combat go faster, and it was a critical hit, and I had a magical implement. All told, I did 110 hit points, I think it was.
Something like that,
yeah. Blew her down to below 0. She was at minus 20 or something like that.
Yeah. You heard Cricket say that, and she was like, oh, and just collapsed.
Yeah.
She never expected such a betrayal.
So I immediately spent part of my next turn healing her, bringing her back up. But yeah, that was an amazing blow on our poor little gnome from an unexpected source. Really, Cricket was the worst person. Or not even a person. She was the worst thing in that room. The entire combat.
She was pretty awful.
and then she decided to allow Hank to burn to death.
Well, Hank was getting pretty dangerous because he was hitting the point where he was going to start using his dailies, but he was on fire. If no one healed him, the fire was going to make him pass out on his next turn. And the party's thinking, an unconscious Hank or a Hank that always attacks the party with his dailies. And so everyone's like, yeah, we're just not going to heal Hank. And that's why I kept bringing up the picture of the dog. I was like, look, this poor little dog with a porcupine clothes on fire. This is Hank. And they're like, whatever. Oh, no, they're like, don't show us that picture of the poor doggy. Yeah, whatever. Hank can burn to death.
So, yes. Cricket was the one who was the healer. She was actually walking right past Hank, and she decided not to heal him, even though she could have. And, yeah.
So Hank passed out from burning, and he failed his death save. He has 3 death saves, though.
And then Cricket had worked her way up to the dailies with this rage thing. Next turn came along, she failed her rage attack, so she's got to hit someone with a daily. And there was no one around her due to some oversight. I can't remember what had happened.
I think it might have been partly because you looked through your dailies and they were all like helpful and healy or whatever.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, they all just help. It's great.
And so I wasn't as concerned about having a punch buddy next to me.
But she discovered that she has this timeless trek in Mithrende, which just sends an enemy away for a few rounds and then they come back. But it usually misses, but it doesn't matter because it still affects on a hit. But when it hits, it does a tiny amount of damage, which was the only damaging daily she had.
And so, after carrying this unconscious gremlin all the way across the room, I'm just one round away from the door. We're about to get out.
She just loses her cheese and vaporizes it.
I send him to another dimension and he doesn't come back. Kablam! And everyone's like, Cricket! Because we've killed all the other gremlins in the room at this point. There are no spares. And I'm like, yeah, what? Because everyone's enraged at this point.
Maybe if you wanted this done properly, you should have left it to a person!
Yeah, that sort of stuff. We're just yelling at each other. It's great. So we get to the door, and the door is locked. And Cricket has lockpicking skill. Serendipity, Bengal Stormlore, Topper Tower, Shep Soul Shard, Doomlair, has the knock spell, but that takes 10 minutes to cast. We're like, Cricket and Aurora and our gnomish mage of the long name all get to the door. Aurora gets critically hit by the room's will thing, so she does a bite attack against Cricket. And did she critically succeed or just succeed?
I think she succeeded.
She succeeded.
She grabbed a hold of Cricket and bit off the end of her ear.
I thought it was more like a chunk from the middle, like, a big notch or something. But anyway, she got a piece of my ear.
And shoot it up and said, tastes like a
people.
person. Yeah, tastes like a person to me.
And so then Cricket was critically hit by the will save on her turn. And so she tried to bite Aurora too. Unfortunately, I failed. I thought it would have been just wonderful symmetry if Cricket had managed to take a bite out of Aurora. So
but
yeah.
It ended up working out okay because they spent a cinematic point and had it so that Cricket failed, but Aurora just took her head and smashed it against the door. Open this door! And she made her lockpick check and it worked with the cinematically. They all got through the door and out of the room where everyone fights everyone for no reason.
I just love that at the very end there, Cricket and Aurora are just trying to eat each other. We reached that level of total rage and mindlessness and so I expect, and that's where the session ended. So I expect next session, about half of it is going to be Cricket apologizing. Never-endingly.
You guys just dragged the burning, unconscious, spike-filled face dog out of the room?
No, we left it.
There's a special rule because they did. There's a special rule because they're in a dream. They're having this prophetic dream about what happened to Krosis in the past. So it works specially. Each room is like its own segment. When you all cross over, if someone's left dead behind, they just appear with 1 hit point in the next room.
Okay.
It's like a special. That was laid out at the beginning.
Do they remember?
Yeah.
Yes. So the other half of the session is going to be Hank huddled up going like, fire bad, fire bad. Very bad.
I don't even know if he'll just be mad. Everyone else will be like, sorry, the room made me do it. He'll be like, that's it, you guys.
The room didn't make me leave me there on fire.
Yeah, it was like
with spikes in my face.
Tim was commenting how like just everyone was just like they've been in like the chaos thing for like 2 hours and they're already like turning on each other and whatever. But I think it will be somewhat therapeutic to Krosis because this is like reliving events that he went through, and he was like, wow, it went way better when we did it. And, like he has a lot of PTSD about how horrible things were down here, but I think it'll be therapeutic to see that like anyone else was way worse. It was so awesome too that like Hank, who, is like his character picture is just a Rottweiler's head. He's just like a furry human with a Rottweiler's head, and he's the one who got covered in quills.
Yes, I imagine that Cricket will submit to a beating from him if he so chooses. It would be fair.
Well, and Hank was completely catatonic with rage. Robert was like, well, I would kind of like healing, but Hank's not going to say that. He's just going to go... And Hank would be like, let's just leave him.
When Cricket got a piece of her ear bit off, her first reaction was, my resale value! And then she tried to bite Aurora back. So anyway, that was the session. It was glorious. The room where everyone fights each other for no reason really came into its own. And
it was kind of anticlimactic last time you guys were in there.
Yeah.
They fought a bit, but before anything really got bad, they got out of there. Although it did make a difference because it took their hit points down, and that made it harder in the vine fight. But
yeah, I started out bloodied in the vine fight.
But yeah, it wasn't. I mean, that was the thing that's kind of awesome about that room is, I mean, I knew this when Tim planned it, but like they went through that room and they got into the garden, and it's just like a dead end. So now they got to go back through the room again.
I have no idea if we have to do this a third time. It might be best if we like take everyone except one person down to one hit point or something. Go through, finish off the other guys, and have the one survivor run through. That might be simplest.
It's tricky though because you only come back with one hit point and spend your healing surge. It's gonna.
Yeah, we're getting pretty low on healing surges too.
I guess you'll find out when you find out what's in the next room.
Yeah.
Couldn't you just have one person run it? Just run?
Nope. We all appear. It's the way the dream works.
Wait, yeah. So you would all appear in the next room, and then one person just books it as fast as they can.
It doesn't transition to the next room until everyone's in the next room, or the people left behind are dead or unconscious.
Yeah. So
when you go into the next room, it's like you hit a loading screen. You're just like frozen in time until everyone comes through.
Or dies.
Yeah.
What happens if everybody dies?
Then I think the dream is over and you fail.
Yeah.
And you all have to go to the crazy hut.
I'm already in the crazy hut, so
It's true.
there might be a tiny hut inside the crazy hut that the double crazy people have to go inside.
Smaller, crazier.
Yeah, the crazier hut.
It's just a chicken coop outside.
You can only see the crazier hut if you need the crazier. So yeah, I now am left wondering what stars taste like.
Yeah, it was a pretty fun session in that regard. Even though it was just basically one combat across the room the whole night.
Yeah.
It was a good combat, so.
There's a lot of role playing in that combat too. At the end, the character was wistfully saying, if only Cricket had some higher authority she could contact at any time that would reassure her that she was not, a bad domestic, and everyone else was like, no, because she's got that hotline to the Serpent Priestess.
Would that work in a dream?
I'd love to find out. I'm not allowed to find out.
But, I mean, so if a domestic attacks their owner in the room where everyone fights everyone for no reason, that's not really like a bad domestic. That's like saying a car is a bad car because its owner drove it into a tree and then the owner got hurt by the car. Got hurt on the car's steering wheel.
Well, it still had to fail a save.
But it's true.
Yeah.
But the question is if there's no car in the world that could have avoided that tree because of the driver. And Cricket is one of the quite possibly the most powerful domestic in the world.
I'm the best car in the world.
Yeah. So it's like if you had the car with the very best safety systems in the world, and then you drove it into a tree and got hurt, and you're like, this car sucks.
Well, I still feel responsible, and it wasn't the room that made me leave Hank to burn to death.
That was just pragmatism.
That was pure pragmatism. So that one is probably a little more.
Well, but Hank doesn't own Cricket, does he? Oh, I thought he was one of the people.
It was Krosis.
Krosis renounced his ownership.
So it's kind of like if your car actually, as you were hitting the tree, lit you on fire, stabbed you in the face with hundreds of spikes, and then ejected you.
No, it does that. It does that as a separate thing.
It's a separate feature,
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah.
comes
like,
with
it's
the
like
seatbelts.
you hit the tree, and all the safety features work, and you take no damage at all, and you're like, phew. And then the car sets you on fire and shoots spikes at you.
I think it's sort of like if you hit the tree and you go flying through the windshield and you're laying there and you're like, please, auto voice car, drive me to safety. The car's like,
It's like the OnStar thing, where it contacts OnStar. It's like, This is the OnStar. Do you require assistance? And you're like, yes! And it's like, no, I'm pretty sure you're okay.
Unfortunately, Cricket has been forbidden from using OnStar when she's in the past, so...
What would happen if Cricket contacted the Serpent Queen before he
It's clearly not the Serpent Queen. The Serpent Queen is dead. This is the High Priestess of the Serpent Queen's temple, whom we can't see because she conceals her features at all times.
Because that's not totally evil.
She's not evil. Anyway, it is a very good question what would happen.
It sounds like a good idea. She suggested it.
Yeah.
She said, if you ever go back in time, I'm probably alive back then. I'm pretty old. Give me a call. I'd love to talk to you.
Sounds like your party's a bunch of sissies.
Yes. Yes, they are.
Not anywhere near curious enough.
No, and they're not concerned about Cricket's well-being. Otherwise, they'd be allowed to concern.
Well, half of them keep insisting that she's a person.
Yeah, which is...
They don't own her.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah, it's going to be some great role-playing fallout from this one, because, yeah.
Sounds pretty awesome.
Not that room was ever very fun, but we managed to make it through that room without anyone eating anyone else. Why we're changing the dream, but we're making it worse.
Cricket, how could you say that? Oh, that was actually quite satisfying. Tastes like a person to me.